So I chose to speak about how to spread economic freedom in Arabic countries. Why? Because I think, in my view, the lack of economic freedom is at the core of uprising in Arab world. As you know, young people has launched the movement in Arab countries because it felt disconnected and not integrated, economically integrated in their society because the lack of a job and economic opportunities. So I think that the lack of jobs is ultimately a lack of economic freedom. So for a better understanding of uprising in Arab world, we must understand the limits on economic freedom and to propose some solution to address these limits. So I will articulate my presentation on two parts. The first one will deal with the limits on economic freedom in Arab countries, and the second I will address a strategy to overcome these limits. To analyze the limits on economic freedom in Arab countries, I used the data of the last report on economic freedom in Arab countries. So I will compare the average ranking of Arab countries with the world average and the top 10 average, so to analyze the main limits on economic freedom in Arab countries. I distinguish three kinds of limits on economic freedom. Limits on free choice, limits on free property rights, and limits on free trade and competition. Concerning free choice, when you compare the average ranking of Arab world to the world average and the top 10 average, we have a problem with the big size of governments. This is reflected by a huge government consumption, importance of subsidized transfers, and high top marginal tax rate. So in Arab countries, private choice is advanced and limited by the big size of government. The second kind of limits concern property rights. So, despite some progress in the respect of rule of law in Arab countries, we observe that is far away from the top 10 average. This reflects a lot of problems with security of property rights. So in Arab countries, there's a lot of military and political interference, so contracts are not enforced. Consequently, there is a problem with the respect of rule of law in Arab world. As you know, the soundness of money is also important for the security of property rights because inflation erodes the value of gains from investment work. So when you have a sound money, the fruit of labor of companies, of individuals are expropriated. So Arab world average, as you see, is largely behind the world average and the top 10 average. In Arab countries, we have problems with the lack of independence of central banks relative to politics. So monetary policy is influenced by a government. Also, we have not a freedom for Arab agents to choose and use different currencies. So in Arab countries, free property rights are limited by the lack of independence of justice and monetary policy related to politics. Concerning the third kind of limits, I will talk about free trade, competition, and entrepreneurship. So when you compare the score of Arab countries related to world average and the top 10 average, we can say that still extensive barriers to international free trade in Arab countries, because there's lobbies who limit the entry in markets. Also, we have a lot of limits, restriction on capital. So there's a restriction on the inter-Arab investment, for example, on foreign direct investment. Also, we observe through the comparison between the Arab world and world average and the top 10 average that markets in Arab countries are not competitive. Markets in Arab countries lack competition and flexibility. So the credit market, we have not enough competition because the ownership structure are not open to foreign investors. Also, interest rates are not liberalized. Concerning the labor market is penalized by rigidity, by the existence of a lot of procedures of hiring and firing who are consuming time and very costly. So neither employers nor employees are not free to take the good decision. In Arab countries we can say that free trade and competition are limited by protectionism and over-regulation. So the question, how to overcome all these limits? I think that the best way to enhance economic freedom in Arabic countries is to foster a trade, or to implement trade-based strategy. Why? Because in Arab countries we have a problem in incentives. We need reform, deep institutional reforms, but how to push Arab leaders, government officials, to implement these necessary reforms? This is the question. I think that the best way to get the right and the strong incentives is to create or to foster trade between and with Arabic countries. So, firstly, developed countries should encourage trade with Arabic countries. Developed countries must propose a new deal to Arabic countries. So, in exchange of free market access for products of interest for Arabic countries like agricultural products, textile and clothes, so we can require from Arabic countries to implement institutional reforms who are conducive to economic freedom. So the deal is free market access in exchange of economic freedom. The second point is to expand trade between Arab countries. So we need to create a big free trade area for Arab countries. When you observe the share of inter-Arab trade compared to the total trade of the region, is dramatically low. For example, for the Middle East countries, it doesn't exceed 8%. And for North Africa countries, it doesn't exceed 3%. So the weakness of inter-Arab trade doesn't provide sufficient incentives to reform. So by creating this big free trade area, we can provide the strong and the right incentives by two mechanisms, cooperation and competition. So how cooperation and competition will provide the right incentives to implement the necessary reforms. Concerning the cooperation mechanism, when you create a big free trade area, Arab countries will abolish all barriers, tariff and non-tariff barriers. Okay? So this will increase the size, the market size available for each country. So creating new investment opportunities for each country. To be able to profit, to benefit, to enjoy these new investment opportunities, Arab government should to implement necessary reform to foster private investment. After implementing these reforms, Arab companies will increase their production, will be more competitive, so will create more wealth and more jobs. Consequently, people in Arab countries will enjoy these benefits of more wealth and more jobs, so will demand or make more pressure on their leaders to implement more reforms. The second mechanism is the competition mechanism. So in this free trade area, the borders are opened. So goods, services, capitals, companies are free to move. Consequently, when you have a country decide to liberalize its economy, for example, lowering taxes and regulation, so this permits aim to attract additional investment, more business, more companies. So this it makes pressure on other countries to undertake similar market-oriented reforms to avoid losing tax base. Consequently, this will result in competition between Arab countries to attract the maximum of investment. They must implement the maximum of reforms. So this resulting competition will lead to contagion effect. Now the point is how to encourage the implementation of this free big trade area between Arabic countries. So I think that we need a new approach. The top-down approach has shown its limits, so we must try a bottom-up approach, which is based on civil society and enterprise. This is to make more pressure on Arabic leaders, government officials, to undertake the necessary reforms. But to implement this trade-based strategy, we need two ingredients, two elements. The first one is a strong civil society and free entrepreneurs. So, educate enough people by disseminate freedom idea is very important, but not sufficient. We must create voluntary networks of practicing freedom institution, free market institution. So we must demonstrate it to other people that they can solve their problems and satisfy their needs by through markets instead of state. So we must help directly people to create private schools, private hospitals, private mediation services, etc. So to get this, to achieve this, we must have a people who are autonomous. So we must help to help people to become financially independent, to be emancipated relative to the welfare state and autocrats. And the last point, and I will finish, we need to reduce trade costs, because the main problem for inter-Arab trade is the cost of trade. So we must continue the free movement of liberalizing the flows of goods and services by removing tariff and non-tariff barriers and simplifying the procedures, especially in customs. Also, as is very important, we must implement a regional initiative to liberalize the services like transport to reduce transaction costs, and banking and finance to facilitate the flows of inter-Arab investment, and communication and information to challenge the censorship and the central control. So facilitating the spreading of freedom ideas. So to capitalize on the fruits of Arab Spring, political revolution is very important, but in Arab countries we need also economic revolution. This is implied to spread economic freedom by fostering trade between and with Arabic countries. Thank you.